Hey guys, Kev here, and I want to do my full review of the Orion Knives Solaris. So, this is interesting. I'm going to do this one tabletop because I just got this cool new arm thing, and instead of rigging my desk the way I was doing it with a tripod, I can do this, and I can see the full mat, or you can, and it's just kind of cool, and I just want to do that, and it's kind of a knife that I want to show a little bit while I talk. And you don't need to look at my ugly mug while I do that. So story here is I was a backer on the Orion Solaris project. The design of this knife has never intrigued me. I'm going to be 100% honest. Everybody has their own tastes and opinions and all that stuff. So take everything I say knowing that it comes from my experience and my standpoint. So I just want to put that out there. I just don't like the look of it. That's the best way. Aesthetically, it looks like a whale. Here's another example. I reviewed this earlier today. The CKF Chimera. They look like whales. They look like some kind of big water fucking, yeah, maybe they are mammals, aren't they? Whales? I don't know. Anyway, I'm an idiot. But, like, they don't look like this. But they have a whale-like feature to them, right? Like, just like a spider co. You know, kind of looks like a bird in a way. I always think so. What's another knife I just pointed out? Oh, the James Brand Barnes. This looks like a lizard to me. Has those two big eyes, especially if it was the plain tie with green thumb studs. It would look like a lizard. So, knives look like animals to me, okay? And that's what I'm getting at here. This one looks like a whale. And I just don't like that look. And a lot of times what it means for me personally is it's going to have a not so ergonomic grip for me because it has this rounded thing with the swell. That's just how these types of designs are made. And then it's just going to have this like drop point on it, right? Which I like a drop point. It's a safe blade shape for me. Like I love the bug out, right? But I really like Tantos right now. I'm obsessed with Tantos. I love a sheep's foot. So I'm just kind of like moving away from drop points in my preference. If I have the option between more than one thing, I usually don't go with the drop point. I'll get the Tanto. I'll get the sheep's foot, right? Warrenclyffe. It's just a little different. Warrenclyffes aren't really my favorite either. But anyway. So, aesthetically, not my favorite. All right? Ergos. When I hold it back here, it's okay. It's a little awkward because of the way the swells are and the flat here. And then my finger lands here. It's not bad. It's okay. But it feels a little short. It kind of feels like I'm hanging off there a little bit. And I feel like I'm a mile away from the blade. That's the most important thing. I just don't feel so comfortable cutting with this, because I'm going to end up putting the blade down, putting the material here because I'm used to, I don't know. That's how I feel about that. Then if I choke up to here, yes, it is absolutely money in my hands, an ergonomic dream like this. So that's really good. You have this very generous choil, which I think might be a little too generous. If they had shrunk that down a little bit, I don't know how this would all work, but maybe move the flipper tab up a little, then this grip would become much more comfortable, and then you still have plenty of choil, right? If they had just moved this flipper up a little bit, I think it would have been perfect, but that's just me, guys, again. So really, really good up here, right? I never did finish the how I got this story, so sorry. You can take a look at this really nice raindrop carbon fiber. I think they call it marbled, but I don't know. It looks like raindrop while I'm talking. So I was a backer for this knife. I got it in, and the one I had a detent issue. Like, you see how there's some slop there? Now, that is going to happen with the button lock. This is a Malibu. This one is really good and does not have much of it. But you can feel a little bit of slop in there before it flips out. And then, what else do I have? This is a Medford. This thing's terrible. But there's just a little bit of slop in there. The one I got originally was just much more pronounced. And I will say, even on this one, it's more than you get on most button locks. But this one's not bad. But I don't like detent lash, especially on a flipper, because I am a tactile person, and I'll do this. I'll just end up doing this and feeling that detent lash, Like, a really good example of it is this Slim Pickens. Way too much detent lash. I mean, this thing comes out of the freaking handle. That's how bad it is. So people love this knife. And let me see if I can get it going. You can kind of do a little bounce in and out. There you go. I mean, look at that. Absolute slop, right? So the one I had originally wasn't that bad, but it was worse than this. So I initially just didn't even do the unboxing. I did, but I didn't post it. I contacted David. He was like, yeah, it can happen. I'm not sure how that got through. He apologized, and he was going to get another one for me and send it to me, right? Or fix mine, whatever the case may be. He was fantastic about it. And I just said, man, I just don't think the knife's for me personally. And I went ahead and gave it to Kyle, D2M Knives and Gear. I don't think I gave it to him. I sold it to him. Like, I paid $110 with these scales and everything, and I sold it to him for like $50. He's my best friend, one of my best friends. I'm not going to charge him full price or whatever. Anyway, so that happened. And I think it was like a week or two later, David contacted me and he said, hey, man, I just sent you another Solaris. I really want you to give it a shot, see what you think. Do the review if you don't mind. And, so he did. He sent me the same spec I already had. So he sent me this, and then Kyle actually gave his away on a live stream. And he sent me my scales back that I gave him with the one I bought on the drop or on the pre-order. So it's a long story, but I ended up with this, with the Stonewash, absolute mirror Stonewash though, and the rainbow carbon fiber scales. You guys might have seen my disassembly video where I did the swap and cursed a lot and had a lot of issues because of spinning barrels in here. I want to note that it's not like Orion Knives is the only company using those, right? What happened was, and a lot of companies do. Civivi, if you guys saw any of my content on the Keen Natter, where I threw it in a trash can because the clip wouldn't flip because of the spinning barrels in there, a lot of companies use those. It must just be the best way to put these backspacers in it. I can't think of another reason why they don't do something different, like a D shape, right? It must just be a lot more machining costs or something. I don't know, but there's a reason for it. And QSP or Orion Knives is not the only one doing that. So I don't want anybody to think that. The difference is David over at Orion Knives is offering scale swaps and hardware swap. Like, he's offering different pivot collars and backspacers and different scales, all of which is awesome. We all love to mod our knives, and he's doing it at a super low price, right? So that's where the issue comes in. If you're going to have spinning barrels like that are issues, it's difficult when you also sell scale swaps and everything, right? Now, the lining there, the silver lining or caveat or whatever, is that if you go to the website or whatever, he offers an install service. So like, if you buy the knife and then buy the extra stuff and you want him to install it, he'll do it for like $5, I think, or it might be free. I don't even know. Or if you already have the knife and you don't feel comfortable taking it apart, or you have a problem when you take it apart, he will do it. He also has a step-by-step guide. I implore you not to watch my disassembly as an instructional video. That is not what it is. So that all exists. And to me, that negates the issues I had, right? He offers a service to do it for you. So if you're not comfortable, or if you can't, like me, you can't handle removing the spinning barrel spacers in there, then you can have him do it, okay? So I just want to put that out there. That was a long-ass story. One more thing. After the disassembly and everything, I then had an issue where the clip was wiggling, and it just fell off. Like, I was carrying it one day, and, oh, no, this screw fell out. I was like, no, there's no way it just fell off. So this screw just fell off, and I never found it. Like, it must have fallen in my pocket, and then I washed it. I don't know. Because I just one day was like, why is this clip so wiggly? And I looked, oh, that screw's gone. What the hell? And apparently what can happen is if you over-tighten the clip screw, it somehow like snaps in there, and then it basically breaks this screw, and then that screw will fall out, and then you end up with a wiggly clip. Like right now you can see it doesn't move at all because he sent me a new barrel and screws and everything. I had to take the knife apart again, and then I had to put the new spacer, the barrel in, and then put the screws in and everything, and it worked. The clip is on there fine. The knife is functioning perfectly. No issues. I have it dead centered. I disassemble a lot of knives, so like, you know, it wasn't that hard for me to take apart again. I did need a pair of channel locks, which I bought literally because of this knife. I bought these. I bought a big set for some stuff I need to do outside, so it kind of worked out. But I literally bought this for this knife, or because of this knife, because I had to clamp down on the barrel to get the clip screw out. So I took the whole knife apart and everything, and then I just had this scale left with the barrel in there and the clip attached to it, because obviously I wasn't getting that out because this screw was gone. So then I just did this, clamped it, and then unscrewed that. And these actually really helped. So if you guys ever have issues with those spinning barrels and shit, I think these are just good to have if you do a lot of knife maintenance. And plenty of people have told me that, so I think that's a pretty common thing. So those are all the things that happened with this knife, okay? And how I got it. So this was technically, no, it was given to me by David, donated to the channel. So thank you, David. I really appreciate that. I think it's awesome that he sent me one and just asked for my opinion after I told him, literally, I didn't think the knife was for me. That says a lot to me. That says that he appreciates feedback. It tells me that he's not just like stuck in his head like his design is the greatest thing ever and how dare anybody not like it or whatever. He just wants some feedback on it, and maybe that'll help him along the line. I mean, this design is already what it is. He's not going to change it, but maybe it'll help with something else. I don't know. But it's also been interesting for me. So let me get back into it. I was talking about ergos. They are basically miss and hit, you know? So miss and then hit. Really good hit up here. There's no jimping, which is fantastic. I love that. Real quick, look at it. There's your 3 stars of Orion's logo. That stands for his triplets, actually. And then over here, you have your blade steel, 14C, 28N, which is a really good steel. People say a really good budget steel. I think it's just a really good steel in general. You have a titanium milled clip. On this model, you have these carbon fiber scales, which totally changed the knife for me. It comes with these absolutely terrible G10 scales. When I say terrible, I just mean I hate G10. It's not that these are specifically terrible, so I hope I made that clear. I hate G10 with a passion, so it comes with that, which a lot of people like, obviously, and especially if you're trying to come out with a budget knife, you know, I get it. But the fact that he offered these for only $35 extra for these thick-ass marbled or raindrop carbon fiber scales is pretty fucking cool, in my opinion. So I really appreciate that. Changed the knife for me. It actually made it to where I aesthetically kind of like it. I still don't like the overall shape, but it is beautiful. I can tell you that with this blade and the finish and this and the blue. I've seen some really cool ones out there with the different materials he's used. He has one with JG10, which, guys, you know I hate JG10, but JG10 with green. Oh man, I saw David over at Eggs and Ham 22. He has one like that. That's sexy. Not for me, but it's sexy. So yeah, all right. So we did aesthetics and we did ergos. So sounds. So they're okay. You know, it kind of cracks out, plop plop when it closes. You know, nothing crazy on either end. I'd just give it like a solid 5 for sounds. It happens a lot, guys. Most knives are a 5. Excuse me. Cutting. This knife is really good. It has a very good grind on it. I mean, look how tall this blade is. That helps it so much with this. I believe it's a flat grind. It comes down to a good, relatively thin edge. I'm not a human calipers, guys. Maybe 17 thousandths behind the edge, something like that. It's definitely solid. Cuts through paper very well. The drop point helps with that. Cardboard was no problem with this guy. And I think I cut up one piece of fruit. I forget which one it was. No problem. I don't have any concerns with 14C28N either, so it's fantastic. Cutting, very good. You have plenty of blade, plenty of control when you're up here. Again, like I said, back here, a little bit awkward because you're kind of far away from that blade. But yeah, so cutting's good. Carry, okay. First off, it has a reversible clip. That's awesome. Big props for giving us lefties a reversible clip on a right-hand button lock knife. David understood that lefties can use a button lock just as well as a righty can. Actually, I prefer the button over here, I think. I've gotten so used to it, I think it's better over here. I actually had a left-handed PM2 Ultra, Spyderco PM2 Ultra, that Blades We Love makes. Basically, it turns a PM2 into a button lock, and they have a lefty one. And it honestly was kind of awkward to do it. I'm just so used to using my index finger. It works just as well, just as quickly. So I just appreciate the fact that he didn't just say, oh, it's a right-handed button lock, so, like, there's no need to put a lefty reversible clip on there because, like, only righties are going to buy it because it's a right-hand button. You know, that's the kind of shit you hear all the time. Or, I don't want to break up the lines or whatever. Like, so, by flipping the clip, you basically make this ambidextrous. I mean, literally just as easy to use left-handed. And you have thumb studs on both sides and the flipper. I mean, it's ambidextrous. I love it. Thank you, David. That was such a huge thing when I heard that. So I'm just happy that he did that. Now, with the carry, it's a little bit wide, guys. Like here is a PM2 or PR3, sorry. You can see here, see how best I can show you this. It is not as tall as a Para 3. but it's pretty dang close. Here is my Slim Mini, relatively taller knife. It's a little bit, if you look at it straight down, it's just a little bit taller, not that much. I think that's all I really need to show you. Well, here's a bug out if you want to see that. Obviously, a bit bigger than a bug out. So, it's not that bad for being as thick as it is. And the flipper tab is actually quite minimal. The way it's kind of shaped in there, the way the angle is and everything. So, looking at it just normally like this on the table, I would think like, hey, that's probably going to be awkward in the pocket, right? Now, I only really carry my knife and then a couple of odds and ends in my left front pocket, so it's not that big of a deal. But I did not have any issue with this. It carried just fine. And then the clip itself is a titanium milled clip. Retention is solid. It's pretty dang deep. Goes to like here. Very well done. Carries really good, guys. It's not super heavy or anything. The weight is actually really good on it. I can't tell you what it is, maybe 4 ounces. I don't know if the carbon fiber helps with that, but it's really good. All right, so that was carry, cutting, sounds, or action. I wanted to save this one for last. So, guys, all right, first off, the closing action on this is great. It is absolutely everything you want from a button lock. And when you're tuning this knife using the pivot, it is very easy to get it to drop shut and not have blade play. That is something that needs to happen on knives. I absolutely hate the trend that we're in right now where there's so many knives that you're giving up a little bit of play to get dropped shut, you know, because everybody wants dropped shut, which I want too. But I don't want blade play just to get it. You know, I want the trifecta, guys. I want no play, I want drop shut, and I want dead centered. You know, that's what I'm asking for when I spend money on a knife. So anyway, this has that. There's no blade play. It drops shut, and it's dead centered. Boom. That's really good. Now, the opening with the flipper is not my favorite. The detent is just too light. It's not really a detent. It's a spring, I guess. It's that thingy, I guess. And you can very easily fail this knife. Now, I will say that most of the time when that's a thing, it bothers me to no end. You guys know that. But on this knife, I don't know. It's weird. The way the flipper is designed and the way your finger travels, it just kind of lends itself to be pulled all the way like that. I don't know. It's weird. So it's not that big of a deal, but it definitely has a light detent. You know what I'm getting at? It's not really a detent in a button lock, so I don't know what to call it. But it's definitely sort of light. Now, the thing is, if you're going to have thumb studs, you can't have the strongest detent in the world. With the studs, the detent is pretty much what you'd want, right? Like, can I fail it? Probably. Yeah. That time I caught the flipper. Let's see. Like, it's hard, you know? And then you obviously have your Spidey flick, which I will admit on this knife, the way the ergos are and everything, the Spidey flick for me left-handed, or just me in general, my hand, just doesn't lend itself to getting as much power as I want. It just feels a little awkward. So I don't really Spidey flick this. I thumb flick it like that, and then I use the flipper. So detent light for the flipper, but it's on purpose to have the thumb studs be really good. Does that make sense? So it's a criticism, but it's also not. It's like it kind of needs to be the way it is. So I don't know. Would I just get rid of the flipper? Probably not, because it's kind of fun to use whenever you feel like it. Another thing I want to point out on this knife, and sorry guys, I know I'm just going down rabbit holes here. The way he designed the flipper to the studs is actually pretty impressive. On most knives that I've had, that use a thumb stud and a flipper, what ends up happening is they're a little closer together, right? And then when you go to use the flipper, you end up with when you go to use the thumb stud, you end up with the flipper in your finger. Now, I'm exaggerating right now to show you, but like, this is what happened, and it would be like this, you know? Your finger's like this, and if the flipper tab were here, if this, you know what I mean? If this in relation to this is a little bit closer, like it is a lot of times, you end up like this, and then the flipper tab catches your finger, and you don't end up deploying the knife, right? Vice versa, when you have the flipper here, depending on if this was a little bit higher up, I might be kind of riding that thumb stud and keeping it from the point. I just think the way he designed it, it makes it really nice to use both options. But there is a caveat to that, and that is you have to shift your grip. So to do the flipper, you do this, right? Flip. And then when I want to go to the thumb stud, I have to kind of climb down the knife, get under it to get leverage, and flip it out, right? It's hard to kind of do this, stay right here. Like I can't do one and then just switch. Oh, I just got it that time. Now if I do the thumb stud, flip, please, I can't even close it, and then flipper. Like, it's just, you know what I mean? You have to switch your grip to do either or. But I like that it's set up to where you don't block yourself on either one. I really like that. So action, that's action, guys. You guys can see that how you want. I think overall it's good, not great, but there's some negatives in there. But again, they're almost necessary. So I don't know, necessary evils, you may say. Value, I mean, guys, this was, I don't even remember now. Was it $80, I think, for this? And then an extra $35 for the carbon fiber scale. Look how thick those scales are, guys. These are slabs of carbon fiber. That does lead me to one other negative I have. The scales are very boxy. It's not like super chamfered on the corners or anything. It kind of feels like a bit of a brick in your hand, a bit of a block in your hand, which is weird to say because of how curvy it is, but all of these corners and everything are still just like straight corners. They're not like super chamfered down or anything, and that's what gives it that kind of blocky feel, you know. But it would have been, what, maybe $100 if he had had all of that done to it. So I kind of get why it is what it is. Again, just looking at it from both sides there. Yeah, so it's definitely a value. I mean, a lot of people have these. A lot of people love these guys. A lot of people recommend these. It's a fidget monster, which is what people want. Especially in the budget category like that with a button lock. I love his push the button thing. It's just really cool. Recommendations. I think I can recommend this to anyone, lefty, righty, whatever. I just want you to be aware. Obviously, if it's not aesthetically your thing like me, that's, you know, you're going to know that right away. We all choose knives based on that pretty much. And then just be aware that the flipper isn't exactly the most, you know, like, it's just not the most snappy kind of on the deployment with the flipper. Thumb studs are really good. Obviously, if you want, you could use the button lock. You have a lot of options there. I will say disassembly, reassembly, this is the easiest button lock to reassemble. And that's once you've dealt with all those spinning barrels. But like, you guys have probably seen my disassembly on the Malibu here. And it was not that fun to try to get that button in. You have to get it at the same time as the plunger. You got to get it at the same time as the blade and all this shit. This was engineered extremely well. This is going to be my last thing, guys. It's very, very sweet on the engineering. The way it's made is you can take the stop pin out when you're putting it back together, and then the blade can move back a little farther, right? And then there's an area there where you can get the blade and the button in at the same time. And then you just go back a little bit, put your stop pin back in, boom, lock it up, put the whole thing back together, and you're good to go. You never have to worry about a spring shooting out at you and hitting you in the face. That was extremely cool to me. I really enjoyed that. So that was a huge plus. So yeah, guys, that is the Orion Knives Solaris. You know, again, it's not really for me, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna keep this in the collection, mainly because it was given to me by David. I really appreciate that. Now it has sentimental value to me, and I will carry it from time to time. It's just not my favorite knife ever or anything. It didn't like super blow me away, but for a first knife design, it is impressive, guys, especially some of the engineering that went into it, the price of it, the additions you can get to it, the fact that it has a reversible clip, the fact that it's a button lock. I love button locks, and I'm so happy that on the budget spectrum we're starting to get some, and especially ones that you can actually open with something else other than the button. Freaking Civivi. Yeah, guys, cool knife. Big shout out to Blade Banter, to David. I really appreciate you, man. Thank you for letting me give you some feedback on this guy. I have very much enjoyed it. So that's it, guys. Sorry for the long one. Appreciate you letting me rant and rave as usual. I hope you have a fantastic day. I love you all, and I will catch you later.